house is very quiet now, quieter than I ever imagined it could be. There was a time when these walls echoed with laughter, tiny footsteps running down the hallway, little hands knocking on my bedroom door at midnight. Now, the only sound I hear is the ticking of the clock, and sometimes my own breathing. I became both mother and father the day my husband was lowered into the ground. My son was only 5. He held my hand so tightly, as if he was afraid I might disappear too. That day, I made a promise. No matter how hard life became, I would never let him feel alone. I worked nights, and sometimes mornings too. When he slept, I stitched clothes under a small yellow lamp. My fingers would ache, but I never complained, because every stitch I made felt like I was sewing his future together. There were nights I told him I wasn't hungry. Grandma already ate, I would say, even when my stomach felt empty. Watching him finish the last piece of bread was enough to make me feel full. He used to tell me, "One day, I'll buy you the biggest house." He would wrap his tiny arms around me as if he could already protect me. And I believed him. With all my heart, I believed him. I didn't know then that dreams grow up too. They leave home, they get busy, and sometimes they forget who built them. The day he left for college, I stood at the bus station longer than I needed to. He smiled, full of excitement. I smiled back, full of fear. I had never been away from him before, but I told myself, this is what strong mothers do. They let go, even when it breaks them. College was expensive, much more than I expected. So I opened the small wooden box I had hidden for years. Inside was my wedding jewelry, the last gift your grandfather ever gave me. I held it for a long time. Then I let it go. The day he graduated, I sat in the back row. My clothes were simple. My shoes were old. But my heart felt like the richest woman in the world. When they called his name, I clapped the loudest. He got a job in the city, a big office, tall buildings. He sounded different on the phone, more confident, more distant. "Mom, I'm busy," he would say, and I would answer, "Of course, my son, I understand." When he told me he was getting married, I cried again, but this time, they were different tears. I prayed she would love him, and maybe love me too. At first, they visited every Sunday, then once a month, then only on holidays, and then I started counting time, not in days, but in silence. One evening, he came without calling. I was so happy I almost dropped the cup in my hand. I made his favorite tea, but something felt different. He didn't sit down. He didn't smile. He just stood there, near the door. "Mom, life is complicated now," he said. "The apartment is small. Work is stressful. She feels overwhelmed." He couldn't look into my eyes. Then he said the words, "Maybe it's better if you move somewhere more comfortable." Comfortable, that's what he called it. He didn't say the word directly, but I heard it. Burden. It echoed inside my chest louder than anything else. Was I heavy to carry now, after carrying him my whole life? I wanted to ask him so many questions, but instead, I smiled. I said, "Of course, my son, I understand." Because mothers sometimes protect their children, even from guilt. That night, I packed my clothes into one small suitcase. I folded each dress carefully, as if I might come back tomorrow. But deep inside, I knew something was ending. Before I left, I signed the papers. The house was now in his name. It was the only thing his father left us. I thought, if I give him everything, maybe he will remember me kindly. The nursing home smelled of medicine and something else, something like forgotten memories. A young nurse smiled at me and said, "You'll be comfortable here." Comfortable. It's strange how that word keeps following me. My room was small, a single bed, a wooden chair, a window that faced another building. I placed my suitcase in the corner, and suddenly the silence felt heavier than ever. There were other mothers there, each one with her own story. We didn't ask too many questions. We didn't need to. You can see abandonment in someone's eyes. Every Sunday, I dressed nicely. I brushed my hair carefully. I sat near the entrance, just in case he remembered. On my 70th birthday, I wore the same blue shawl he once said made me look beautiful. I sat by the phone all day. Every small sound made my heart jump, but the phone never rang. That night, something inside me changed. Not anger, not hatred, just understanding. Sometimes we give so much love that we forget to leave some for ourselves. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time, not as someone's mother, not as someone's burden, just as me, a woman who survived loss, a woman who built a life from nothing, a woman who deserved respect. I started walking in the garden every afternoon. I began reading books I never had time to finish. I even laughed again with the other women, not because I forgot the pain, but because I refused to let it define me. One evening, I wrote him a letter, not to blame him, not to shame him, but to remind him who he once was and who I still am. I don't know if he will ever understand, and maybe that's okay, because peace doesn't always come from others. Sometimes it comes from within. If I could go back in time, I would still love him the same. I would still sacrifice for him, but I would also remember to love myself a little more.